What's up, everyone? And there goes my static in my headphones. Hold on a second. Okay, I think we're good. No, yes, no, maybe so. Oh my gosh. Hi, I'm Untamed Mando, and we're just gonna worry about the static later because it could just be me, like just me. Hopefully, it's not on the stream. Hopefully, you guys don't hear any static that's happening right now because, yeah, it's
I do not hear anything, so
okay. That's good. Hopefully, the chat doesn't hear it either. And yeah, there will be more people coming in. Let me change something real fast. Why do I keep having these mic issues? Like it doesn't happen like before I go on stream. It happens at like once I go live, which is stupid.
Hey,
no worries, Elijah. What's up, Americus? The horse and his boy. No comment. Right, Americus. And then Elijah and chat. Do you guys hear the static that's in my ears? I think I might have a cable that's like trying to be stupid. Why does Mando sound like she's live from the invasion of Normandy?
Oh, that's not good. You sound good to me, but apparently on stream it's not. Americus, do I sound okay, or is it just Mando? Live from the invasion of Normandy. Oh, he said he's joking. Now you're muted.
Okay, I know I muted myself because I was gonna try and mess with stuff. I was like, dang it!
I thought you were gonna pass out.
I did that one time on stream, and now I
one time on stream. I know of other times in real life, but those are medical issues. So
it's not like I make a habit of passing out. Okay, geez, I do it a few times, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh." I did not do it twice last night. I did not do it twice. I went underneath my desk to grab a thing. Oh my gosh, Mando and Wild Maxter. Hold on, let's say hi to the chat before.
She says she didn't pass out, but
I did not pass out. I was wiggling some cables and unplugging cables and all of the things. Stream Element Spot, if you don't work properly, I'm going to be upset. What's up, Maxter? Mando, a wild Maxter appears and he is here to make fun of the Archosaur. And then there is the Archosaur. Hello. Playing. Why do you have Olang? Olay. But we'll listen.
Olay. Morning, Ark. Morning, Americus. Morning, Alasia.
Morning, everybody. Welcome in. Sure. Believable. You know what? Americus actually did send me a text message asking, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine."
We gotta check to make sure it's legitimate concern.
I pass out one time on stream and nobody ever lets me live that down.
We all know it was one time on stream. We love you and we care about you and we don't want your body to be laying there rotting for your cat to eat. So
would you eat it? But he left me. But I was gonna ask if he
the cat. We all know the honest answer.
Yes, we know that you was trolling. You was being a troll. Well, welcome in. LOL. Ark is Arkistan or Arkistan, so it's normal for him to have bad spelling. Yeah, so yeah, we're going to be talking about the horse and his boy, and then I've got a couple of articles for later, but Smilo, I will have to leave a little bit early because she apparently has someone's birthday party to attend, who is important.
My grandma's turning
all of the things. 80 is an important birthday.
It is a big year.
It is, so I totally understandable. Arkansian. No, it's Arkansian.
Arkansian. See, I turned 30 this year, and my dad turned 60 this year, but 80 is way more impressive, so we're just celebrating her birthday.
Right. Poima does have your gift. She will send it to you, or she will bring it with it.
I see her in 6 days. 5 days? Right, 5 days. I see her in 5 days.
Very nice. All right, so now that we've got hopefully the static isn't coming through for you guys like it is for me. I think I probably have a cable that's getting a short in it. Of course, why wouldn't it? So probably is the cat's fault. I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about the horse and his boy. Elijah could not make it today, sadly, and neither could Megan nor Miss Martin Muse, but they will be here hopefully next time. Because there were some extenuating circumstances that the other folks could not make it, but we still love you. We still see you out there. You guys are awesome. Oh my, America's just because you're 80. Just kidding. I know I'm young.
I mean, based on that picture, he's dead. That guy's dead. So
It's probably just your headphones with the problem. Okay, good to know. I can deal with it if it's just my headphones. Because I can get used to it and stuff. It's probably something is actually up with my my little mic box here. Anyway, what's been going on with you? How are you doing today on this fine, fabulous Saturday? We are aware that you've made a Twitter. Welcome
Twitter.
to the cesspool.
I had to split Instagram photography work stuff from more of my YouTube stuff because everybody was getting too blended together. So switch Twitter over to all of the YouTube peoples I enjoy and love following so that I can actually find their stuff and not get it mixed in with work stuff. I have been hiking. It has been hot in Minnesota, and I know that you can laugh at that because you're from Alabama, but we have broken the record for days over 90 degrees.
Over 90? Bruh, that's a nice day.
90% humidity and 90 degrees for most of the last month. And
what's up, Rocky?
Now we're back down in the 50s overnight and 70s for a couple days. So I'm enjoying the nice cool break, but we still have had no rain in a month and a half. So we could
we're getting all of your rain. Like it's raining right now. Like if I could, I'd send it to
Poema
you.
sent me our friend Poema sent me the she Marco Polo'd me at 4:30 this morning. Long story. And I was listening to it and she had the most beautiful rain. Like it could be recorded for white noise machine rainfall. And I was like, where is that? Why have we not had any of that? So everything here is brown. Other than that, not a lot of mosquitoes this year, Americus, because there's no rain. You need water for mosquitoes.
Overnight. That's weak sauce for Texas. Yeah. Heck
it means
yeah.
that we have fireflies. So yeah.
Hey, we have fireflies here in Arkansas.
Lots of hiking, celebrated my birthday, more hiking, spending time with family. What
Happy
about you?
late birthday. I've been doing pretty good. Hold on, I want to say hello to Laydart in the chat. Hello, Laydart. How are you doing today? And say hi to Rocky the Black Dragon and all of the cool peoples. And Stream Elements bot is working as it should. So yeah, I've mostly this past week with it being the 4th of July weekend and stuff, I kind of took Saturday off and just enjoyed a nice day at the pool where I did not get sunburnt. Well, I kind of got slightly sunburnt.
What did you do? Wear a full body suit and wear a hat?
No. I just put sunscreen on every 10 minutes. I reapplied every 10 minutes when I was out at the pool for 3 hours.
That's not worth it, girl. Of course, I just turned brown.
I got one shade darker. I have the Choco tans to prove it. I got one shade darker.
Here.
And really red.
There's my tan line. I got a few shades darker.
You know what? I have a lot of Irish, okay?
Hey, you'd appreciate, I have a coworker who's from Kenya and he has got the best accent. And because he's only been in America for 8 years. And I walked up to him and he's got the most gorgeous, dark, brown, almost black skin, flawless, right? And I walked up to him the other day and I went, hey, I'm almost as dark as you. And he fell over laughing so hard he was crying.
Did you use a towel or just... No, I have a spray.
We don't even do the trowel.
Sunscreen.
We just slather it on her. We take the entire container every 10 minutes. She uses an entire bottle of sunscreen, starts at her face and just slathers it on. So that's how she keeps the sun off, is that she's actually just got half an inch of sunscreen on her.
I got some sun, you meanies. To quote the late great wrestling legend, Hall of Fame, Macho Man Randy Savage, no one can't handle Smile a While, the cream of the crop. Nobody does it better. What is sunscreen? You got to become red like a lobster. Yes, I know. Yes, I do become. I don't become tanner. I become redder. That's because a couple of friends of mine, IRL, are like, you look redder. I was like,
I got a shade darker. Thank you. I don't even burn Americans. Have fun, Americus. We'll miss you. I don't even burn anymore at this stage in life. I used to burn when I was in high school, and now I just kind of have a permanent darkness. But my youngest brother, he gets 7 shades darker than the rest of the family. As soon as the sun touches his face, his body just goes, yes, I am tan. I don't know why
Yes,
he got
Late Art
those
Lobster
genetics.
Girls for the win. I really do need to take an ancestry DNA test because I know on my dad's side there's a lot of German, but on my mom's side, like there's a lot of Cherokee. My sister got all of the Cherokee. She like your brother, she goes out into the sun and she's just brown and it's gorgeous. And I got all of the Irish and the Scottish. All of it.
I'm German, Scotch, Irish. The Scotch and the Irish don't really come through in my skin colors at all. I got Western German showing through.
Genetics.
Sorry.
Genetics. Everyone prepared to be very pissed. Heard about Tomb Raider. Yeah, Phoebe Waller-Bridge is gonna be. Oh no! For modern audiences, we know what that
Well,
means,
we can just add them to the list of casualties at this point. Then
right? My ancestry is just throw a pin at Europe, and high chance I have an ancestor from. Most Americans are that way. Like if we're being honest, most Americans are a mixture of all of Europeans and.
on the topic of ancestry, my mom and I's favorite TV show when I was in high school was it some Understanding Your Roots from PBS, and they would talk to like well-known people and do these like crazy in-depth backgrounds on like their genetics and like find family peoples and like original places they came from. And there's a TV host, is it Conan? Is he super Irish looking? Right? They did his genetic test and he came back as like, they're like, we've never seen this before. He came back as 100% Irish. And they're like, you understand what this means, right? And he's like, no, what does it mean? And they're like, it means that you're really inbred.
Oh my god!
Like, there's no way for you to be 100% Irish without your family members marrying each other multiple times.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's like, what a thing to find out.
Your mom is also your grandma kind of thing.
Your parents, and his parents had no idea. Like his parents are like super closely related and had no idea.
Genetics, man, genetics. Well, all right then. Before we get started, also don't forget tomorrow, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, Wicked and I will be doing not Wicked's World, woohoo, Unplugged with Wicked and Mando. I was thinking of her show that she's gonna have later today. But yeah, we are gonna be talking about a lot of things tomorrow because apparently the world is falling down into the abyss, and we're just watching it live.
Like the new Fall Out Boy song, "We Didn't Start the Fire" 2.0.
Yep. I actually listened to that the other day. All
good.
right. So, Horse and His Boy, since you have read this, this is your favorite book. Why don't you give us a short synopsis of the plot of the book? Because I'm going to butcher it. Because while, yes, I have read it, we all know I'm not good at summaries.
So this is the copy of the book that I got for my 7th birthday party from a missionary band that was staying with my family. So this is the book that introduced me to the Chronicles of Narnia, which is why it always will have a soft spot in my heart. The Horse and His Boy, the premise is, one, to give you context of time frame. This book happens after The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but before the end of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So we have Queen Susan, King Peter, King Edmund, and Queen Lucy that are adults at this point in time and have been ruling in Narnia for quite a while. And we're following the story of a young boy whose name is Shasta, who doesn't really know much about his background. The person he thinks is his father is selling him to a soldier, and he wishes the horse could talk to him, and the horse of the soldier starts talking to him, and turns out that the horse is from Narnia, and he is not in Narnia. He is in the Southlands at this point in time, and he and the horse run away together and meet up through a series of events with another talking horse and a young lady who is running away from a forced marriage to a man who is like 60 years older than her.
She's like 14 and he's like 60. It's like,
yep. But she comes from a pretty high-ranking family. And they get to a big city. They end up getting split up in the city because he gets mistaken for the Prince of Archenland, which is the country north of them between Narnia and the Southlands. and they all get back together. They find out that a prince wants to marry Queen Susan, and he's angry, so he's going to go take over Arkland to get to Narnia. Throughout the story, we have an appearance of lions in different places. We have lions chasing them along the dunes. We have a large cat, and then a lion who he doesn't really quite realize is changing shape, protecting Shasta from other creatures in the tombs outside of the city, and a lion that gives them chase to get to where they need to go to tell the King of Arkenland that he's being attacked on time, who also actually scratches the girl on the back. And a lion who keeps him safe over the path to Narnia when he accidentally, not accidentally because Aslan leads him there, gets to Narnia to let them know that Arkenland needs their help. And so we find out that Aslan is this lion. He's the same lion. He's like, no, there is one lion, and he's been hurting him in his own way to get to where he needs to go. And that this is part of his story. And we also find out that Shasta is actually Prince, I'm going to forget his name, right?
Corn?
Corin. There's Corin and Cole. He's Corin, who is a missing twin of who was kidnapped when he was an infant. And so that's a basic premise of the book. It's probably my favorite because it shows Aslan in a different light than we've had him throughout the series up till now. And that we have after. You have a different side of who Aslan is. That Aslan he is the creator. He is the commanding general. He is the sacrifice. But he also has control of the stories and the universe. And sometimes it doesn't feel good when he leads us when God leads us through things. It's not like it's always fine and dandy and happy-go-lucky and kittens and puppies and roses, that there's a lot of thorns on those paths. And there is justice, that he is merciful, but there is justice. Like, she gets scratched on the back because it's in repayment for the servant that she drugged to sleep so that she could run away. That servant got whipped 12 times for not making it to her duty in time and sleeping on the job. And he repays that justice. It's like, you need to understand the consequences of your actions. And just all these interesting things. So I think it's one of the reasons it's my favorite story, is that it's a different side of Aslan and Narnia. And it's not really a story about Narnia. It's really a story about the Prince of Arkenland, which is a little different.
Yes.
What about you?
Hello, Atu. What's up? Maxter, we will not talk about that banned pizza topping because it's banned for a reason.
It is.
Whenever I've read through the Chronicles of Narnia beforehand, I did enjoy this story because the reason why I enjoyed it was because we got another story at the same time as the golden age of Narnia. Because when the two queens and two kings of Narnia were in power, that was considered the golden age, and we don't get much information about the golden age of Narnia. Like, it's this mythical, like in the other books, it's this mythical time period of this was when Narnia was at its best, the golden age. It's like, well, we didn't get much information about it. We just kind of breezed through
it. If C.S. Lewis could come back and write one more book for this series, I really would appreciate one more book encompassing the golden age, a little bit more about the reign of the golden age of Narnia. Because I feel like we kind of got gypped.
Yeah, the Horse and His Boy, well, yes, it is a story within the golden age. It's not talking really about Narnia. It's just people trying to get to Narnia, but it doesn't talk about we see Mr. Tumnus, we see Susan, we see Edmund, and they're not the main characters, which is fine. I think that's fine to not have them as the main characters for a story that takes place during their reign. But we kind of and I also appreciate that we got a little bit more story about the Southlands of Narnia and Arkenland and stuff. We kind of see what Lewis was going for, very much Middle Eastern desert, people, kind of that mythology. That's what really the story that touches on. But also I'm just I want more from this time period. Yes, I love The Horse and His Boy, but I just wish we got a little bit more about the bigger picture of Narnia during this time. which
Good
we
morning,
kind of get
Jacob.
glimpses of. What's up, Jacob Ironside? How you doing?
I always wonder if it's a little bit of like every era has that golden age that we want to refer to, right? Like we talk about like the good old days. Like every, you know, in the 90s when we were growing up, we had adults talking about the good old days, and we talk about the good old days, right? But the good old days aren't always what they're made out to be. They're always kind of prettier than they were, and it can be a wonderful time. That doesn't mean it's perfect. But I've always kind of wondered if the golden age of Narnia, maybe he didn't write a book, just speculatively, that like it was that golden age. And sometimes when you look too closely at the golden age, it's not as pretty, and you need to have that like romanticized history in some way, you know?
Yeah,
It probably
that
was
could
a
be
good time, and it was a time of peace. So there maybe just wasn't as much happening. Like there, you know, there was not as much war because it was the golden age. It was, well, of course, after this, you know, you have Prince Rapidash. You can go within 100 yards or 110 miles of like the 100. Yeah, there was like he had a pretty strict circle of how far away you could go from the temple.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, theologically, that would be my biggest issue. Is I feel like C.S. Lewis kind of references King. He worships cash, and he he gives power to the god Cash in the way that like he has to go back to the temple of Cash and he'll become human there again, and he has to um, stay there. Just a second, let's see how many. It was pretty.
Well, I think it kind of goes into because like when we talk about the last battle, he like I think Lewis was
10 miles.
like
He has to stay within 10 miles.
okay.
So by natural, there was a lot of peace. He couldn't go anywhere.
Right. So I think one of the things though, and this like this plays into the idea like in the Bible that like demons still have power. Like even in the Old Testament that their God still had some power because otherwise nobody would worship them. And I think that's what he was kind of referring to of like even in the Old Testament, like demons and stuff have power. They're not as powerful, definitely by any stretch of the imagination, but they do have some sort of power and dominion. And so I think that's what he was playing into was, you know, like, well, your God, you know, says for you to do this, so go do
Go do
it.
that. You're not going to believe in me.
Yeah, he knows he's not gonna, because like everyone who meets Aslan who isn't like a Narnian is like, oh my gosh, you're a big like lion, you're gonna eat me, and he's
Well, I
like,
mean,
I might eat
he's
you.
referred to as the what are they? The reference it was he's referred to as the demon of Narnia
Mm-hmm.
that he shows in the form of a lion.
Mm-hmm.
Like so, yeah. There's already a bias against any sort of belief in him. Obviously, that hasn't gone to Arkenland. I think it's very interesting that like Arkenland is not like the king of Arkenland has proper respect for Aslan.
Mm-hmm.
It's only when you get further south than that that you don't. And
So late art is hearing the static. Okay, so it
Ladar's
is
the only
coming
one who hears
through.
static.
Okay, because like I hear static.
I hear nothing.
So give me a second, guys. I'm gonna mute.
She's gonna mute things. Do you guys still hear static when she's not plugged in or not muted, or when she's muted? Or is the static gone when she's muted? Nobody's replying, so I do not know. Do not know if you being unplugged fixes the static issue. Or if it's me. Could be me. Would be me.
Go ahead and mute yourself real fast and let's see if it's you.
Mute. Is it
It is you.
bad? It's me. That's good. That's great. New microphone. That's wonderful.
When you turn it over like that, it doesn't do the static.
Oh, maybe it's too close to my face.
Or it might be too close to your
Headset?
hold on. Might be too close to your headset.
Let's move it further away and see if it helps.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yep.
Problem
Okay.
solved.
Thank
like
you,
it further
Ladart.
away
Okay,
anyway.
this whole time I thought it was me. Oh my gosh. Good to know.
Americans was like, just kidding, JK, it's fine.
Yeah, better. All right. So now we figured out the problem. Yeah, because like I was like, I hear static. I guess it's my headphones and we'll just work with it. But no, people in the chat were like, no, we don't hear any static.
You sound like you're talking from Normandy, and then they're like, oh no, it's fine, we're joking.
There's still like a tiny twinge, but it's not super noticeable now. Okay. I even switched out my headphones and everything, man. Okay. So now that we've gotten that figured out and taken care of, yeah, where were we? We were talking about the overall picture. We were talking about the other gods and how it's still not technically like that was something that we don't like, because especially in the last battle, late art, she's telling people in the chat, shame, didn't say anything. Thank you, late art.
Thank you, Leonard, for being honest
are-
and helping us. Not just
Thank
letting
you.
us barrel on into oblivion.
Right? No. It's fine. You were totally fine.
We were trying to solve this 30 minutes ago, and America's was causing apparently more problems than help. So
it's coming back a little bit, so I don't know what you did there, or something moved. Okay, now it's good. You're good. Okay, we're good now. We're just gonna deal with it. She has a new mic. That's what it is. It's a new mic. Yeah, it happens. Welcome to the world of streaming, where you plug something in and you think it's supposed to work, and it's like, oh, wait. Yeah. So welcome to my life. Anyway, so yeah, we were talking about how other gods technically, like, while they don't have as much power as Aslan, they still do have power, because like even in the Bible, like the demons still have some power and some dominion, but they are not all powerful and they do not have all dominion. And I think that's what C.S. Lewis was playing into in this one and in the last battle. Because it's a very heavy point in the last battle is Aslan is not a tame lion, and that's just kind of like justified in saying that Aslan, like someone's impersonating Aslan and then going around saying, well, Aslan's not a tame lion. So that's the last book in the last battle. But I think that's kind of what C.S. Lewis is playing into when talking about the horse and his boy, and go to your God's temple and do the things that your God requires.
I wish if I could ask him to clarify one other thing in that like last paragraph, because it's pretty short there when he's giving Rapidash his life sentence. Would be to clarify that, because I always have thought that section would be very confusing for a non-Christian reading these books, understanding they're from a Christian perspective, written by somebody who was a Christian or Catholic. And then suddenly going like, wait, so is he saying that all gods are Aslan? Because there's also the reference in the Lion, the Witch,
the last battle,
and in Magician's Nephew, where he comments that you know me by other names.
I think that he's referring to it like him known by Jesus. Yes.
But if you do not have that context and you are just reading through this without any religious background, there's a natural connection there, very easily made. And so I wish that they made a little bit more of a. I wish he made more of a distinction, and that wasn't a distinction he really would have had to make at that point in history. Like when he wrote these books, that was not a necessary distinction, and so it probably didn't even honestly cross his mind. And so now we just have to make sure that we're being aware when we're giving these books to people, or when other people are asking questions, that we're, answering those questions in light of that.
What's up, Netflix Mando? You're kind of a day early. Netflix Mando typically comes on the show on Unplugged. So, I mean, because we all know that this show does not have enough representation. And so that's why periodically somehow Netflix Mando breaks into my house, steals my chair, and then talks to you guys. But thank you for making an appearance a day early, Netflix Mando. What's up, Jacob? We wrestle against cords, plugs, microphones, and technology. Yes, that is the life of a streamer. It's like, I just plugged this in. Like, there have been streams where I have done a complete, like, pre-flight check. Everything works fine. And then you click the go live button and then everything stops working.
I mean, I feel like that's not just streaming. How many times does it happen at church? We get a new system or we have something all plugged in and we've done so many sound checks and we've tested the limits of everything. And then halfway through a live stream, things just shut down. Cannot tell you how many times we've had computer systems just literally restart.
In the middle of a service. Yeah, what? No worries, Netflix Mando. You're more than welcome into Literary Souls. I'm just used to seeing you in Unplugged with Wicked and Mando. But you are more than welcome to show up, on my other streams, Netflix Mando. But so yeah, I think during when he was writing the books, he did need to distinguish that he was talking about Jesus. Us as Christians and most people who have a semi-Christian background understand oh, he's talking about he's Jesus in our world. Mm-hmm. But I also I can see if you're not from a Christian background and you have no Christian mindset or frame of reference or anything like that, it can especially if you're polytheistic.
You have polytheistic or open deism. It feels very much like it could you could twist it very easily to fit in those lines, which you're going to be talking about this later, but when you're talking about Netflix making a TV show or doing something with Narnia, you have to go I have to look at it and assume the worst, because we know what they want to do with all of our beloved books and our beloved literature. And if you're looking at this and going, man, what are the ways that they could easily just take this and make it as woke as possible? And it's right there is a big one.
Cajun.
Morning, Cajun. Hey, he was talking about open theism, that everything is God, and we love the earth, and spiritualism, and very much leaning heavily into New Age spiritualism. That's one way that I see a very, very easy twisting of words, which I feel is kind of oddly appropriate if you go look at go read Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Miss Martin uses.
Morning, Miss.
Having a good trip.
Where half of the time when he's giving his nephew instructions on how to encourage his human to be further away from God, it's by keeping him busy, and that it's not outright lying. It's twisting the lies just a little bit to make them, twisting the truth just a little bit of lie and making sure it's still tasty.
Yeah. If any of you have ever read the Screwtape Letters, very much yeah, if you haven't, even if you're not a Christian, it's still very enlightening to understand how Christians think about spiritual warfare. If you're interested in wondering why Christians believe what they believe, but if not, it's still a good book to read. So yeah, I definitely see a lot of elements of what could happen in the Netflix Chronicles of Narnia, which we're gonna read later on during the stream. We're gonna read an article talking about it. I should have whiskey. Anyway, but it's a little too early.
There's not enough whiskey in the world to make that any better. You know that, girl.
Yeah, I know. I think going into where do you think? Huh?
That shouldn't be.
Oh, what's up, Matt? Finally able to catch some of your live show again. This is only the second Saturday this year I've woken up on Saturday before 3 or 4 p.m. Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. Hope that you are. I hope that you're okay. So yeah, we were talking about the horse and his boy, and we've kind of discussed a little bit about we've done the brief plot. Now we're kind of doing a little bit more of a deep dive into it. I'm trying to figure out where do you think he got the inspiration for putting this story in what is it called? Caldera?
I say I'm not going to ever pronounce the name right.
Right.
There's Tajban is the city. There's Arkenland. They have to get across the desert, which is really just called the desert. Really, really detailed names around here. Um, the
It starts
Kalaman
with a
is
C
the
though.
people. They're Narnia and Kalaman. And I want to
Okay.
say it's Calormen. If somebody in the chat knows that we're pronouncing it wrong, please correct me.
Yeah. So that's kind of like where this takes place. Like, do you think he actually, like, maybe he read like Arabian Nights, which I actually recently purchased Arabian Nights for like 99 cents. Like, do you think maybe he read that recently, or he was wanting to do a story kind of based in a Middle Eastern setting?
I kind of wonder. Like, it is so interesting that it is very distinctly Middle Eastern, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you
Turbans.
cannot read the book without the names. Even
Mm-hmm.
the names feel very, very Middle Eastern. And I feel like we should have done more historical reading and understanding why. Because Narnia is more England based, right?
Mm-hmm.
North England. What was going on between England and the Middle East at the time? And there's not really there's a desert, but there's not technically a lot of there's nothing else between the Middle East and England in this storyline.
Well, what do you think Arkenland? Because like Arkenland feels more British
Feels
than
more
Narnia feels.
like Spain or Germany or something in
Mm-hmm.
between,
Okay.
like mainland England. My gut says
Okay.
mainland England, not like British English,
Mm-hmm.
where based on some other stuff and based on what that Lewis, this would be another world, where it was another universe when you jump through the pools that, another history of England in some ways. I
Mm-hmm.
think we're in more England, and then you have uh, like England mainland. Yeah. So there's obviously good relationship there, and they're
Mm-hmm.
more. In some weird ways, it kind of feels like a reference to the Crusades in a little way. Like,
Hmm.
just because you have the Middle East and you have main England and you have like very distinct cultural differences and you have battles constantly between the two, it tastes like the Crusades.
Hmm.
Now, why? This is where I would love to know other people's opinions on this. Like, why would he be writing a book that in the 20th century that had a taste of that? First, you're talking about history. So, is
Mm-hmm.
this a way of referencing that point of history? Because England during the Crusades, Middle Ages kind of was their golden era. This is pre Dark Ages. So, if you're looking
Mm-hmm.
at British history timeline, that would put the Crusades during the golden era of England. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my best guess.
Okay.
That's
Stig also
that's where I've gone for years.
Stig also brings up a point. It's gonna slightly derail, but we're gonna talk about it anyway. Since they made transgender Barbie a few years ago, does that mean Barbie got a penis before Ken? Debate, please. I'm gonna say no because I think Ken was born with it,
Yeah,
or she got it. Yeah, that's kind
yeah.
of that is the official stance of literary souls. I don't know nearly as much about Narnia as I do about other subjects, but I recall reading years ago that the Arabian Nights collection was a core influence. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Good gut instinct on that. That would make sense. So if you
Yeah, I
have that and you're,
recently read
yeah,
it.
that would make a lot of sense.
Because it is like I consider the Arabian Nights like a classic. Like it's a collection of stories, kind of like it was actually a French writer who wrote the Arabian Nights, which is
Yeah.
mind-boggling to think about. Which like I feel like because it was probably like a classic during Lewis's time, he probably would have consumed it or knew about it or
Oh yeah.
something. Um, but I also think like you could be like it could be subconsciously or Lewis probably maybe consciously made this point of like yeah like because during the
But you could
like
be
before the
influenced
Dark
by the
Ages.
Arabian Nights while right. Like it could be easily both.
Right. But also before the Dark Ages, like a lot of like King Arthur lore takes place before the Dark Ages, and that's kind of the golden period for Britain, like according to their
Mhm.
mythology. Even though King Arthur isn't technically a British story, it's a yeah. There's lots of weird stuff going on with the story of King Arthur if you do a deep dive into it. But like I think maybe he was trying to put some of that mythology like of King Arthur. I think that's what the four Pevensies are supposed to represent, is King Arthur and his, knights in a roundabout way. And so that would have been the golden age of Britain. And then afterwards would have been the Crusades, where we do a little bit more interaction with the Middle East and kind of the British viewpoint, or the European viewpoint on the Middle Eastern countries and the Middle Eastern culture.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a decent stab at what was going on in the mind of Lewis.
Yeah, and we could all be wrong. We could be completely wrong, and he's just like, bruh, I just wanted to see people with turbans in the sand. I doubt it, though. I think he thinks a little too in depth for that. But that's my best guess. Is I'm thinking that, which I still don't quite understand. Like, if you've seen just a map of Narnia, like how Narnia is set up and stuff, like it's a little wonky. Like, because like Narnia is kind of almost on the top, like, but it's not the most northern point. There's like little outskirts of Narnia that aren't really Narnia, and then there's Arkenland, and then there's the Great Desert, and then there's
We don't have a full map of Narnia in this book. We have the desert takes up most of.
Mm-hmm.
We have the desert, and we have the northern end of the Calormen, and that's about it. We don't even have a whole map of his adventures.
Right, and that I was kind of sad about that. I was like, I want his map that shows exactly the direction and the way that he went, but we didn't get that. Matt says, well, not to pick a fight, but the Arabian Nights collection was something that multiple authors added to, starting in the Middle East and concluding with the French guy.
That's what
he gets the credit. He gets most of the credit, which is sad, but I think more or less what he did was he collected all of them and just put them in a book and was like, here, Arabian Nights.
But that wasn't uncommon at the time. Different book series, different author. But I always really, really struggled with Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen until one of my friends, I was talking to her and was like, I don't understand this book. I am really struggling with the context and where this is going. And my friend Amy was gracious enough to tell me, hey, so I read the book that she parodied. It was one of the first books she wrote, and Northanger Abbey was written as a parody of this other book, and I don't remember the title of the book, but she read it. And so she gave me context as to what was culturally going on at the time with this book and kind of the scandal going on with it. And Jane Austen's book made way more sense. But that was a common thing at the time, was to allow other literature works at the time to really influence your writing, and it wasn't considered to be
copywriting.
Yeah, it was just a different time period. It was viewed as inspiration and take it as you will. So that's not at all surprising. We obviously were affected by what we read, and it's going to come out in our writing and in our inspiration of things.
French guys translated, including Aladdin. Yeah, Aladdin actually is from those stories of Arabian Nights, which he attributed to a Persian or maybe a Syrian, I don't remember which, in his translation. Okay. I mean, like, if we're being honest, and I know I'm making a generalization, please forgive me for making a generalization. I understand that there are differences between the countries, but Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, like all of that area, like, yes, they're different, but they're also, like, as far as culturally, they're really the same. If you do a deep dive back, like before Islam, like, they were very much pantheism, like all of those different gods. Like, they had, very the Middle Eastern feel that you have in Aladdin. Yes, Aladdin is not accurate. I understand that. Read an article yesterday, or I didn't. I was on somebody else's stream yesterday that was reading the article. Whose stream was it?
Who were you on yesterday?
Mara. It was Mara Jade. Mara Jade was reading an article about Aladdin, how it's controversial 30 years later because it's not accurate to the source material and stuff and whatever. And, like, yes, I understand, but a lot of those cultures are very similar as far as background. So, like, I can understand why someone would get confused, like Persian or Syrian or Iranian or Saudi Arabian. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Lewis took inspiration from the Arabian Nights. Give me a second.
So for sure. Like, we know things were inspired. It feels like that. It has to be that. That's the only answer I can come up with. Like,
Because
it's
I mean,
too on the nose.
yes,
Because I think it also feels more like, I think that it's the interesting thing to me is that it doesn't feel like it's Arabian. It doesn't feel Arabic in like you visit Arabia. It feels Arabic in like you read something about Arabia.
mm-hmm.
Right? It feels kind of like the cliche version of Arabia.
I also like let's see what Disney movies, whether the good ones or the bad ones, are source accurate. Look at how they mauled Peter Pan or the animated Robin Hood. Yeah, agreed. Like a lot of times, like especially Disney will butcher a lot of the stories, like the fairy tales, but sometimes it's for a good reason because some of those Brothers Grimm stories, oh my gosh, they're dark and they would not be appropriate for children. And so I get
I don't
why,
think
like,
they're appropriate for some adults to read. They're really dark stories.
and so like yeah, I can see where like he probably maybe open because Arabian Nights is like it's kind of a thicker book, but it's not like I think he'd be able to get done with it within like a few days, if not a week, while he's not grading papers. But I I enjoyed doing kind of a little bit of a research into like what was going on south of Narnia and like it kind of tying into the overall like the bigger picture. I kind of also wish that we got more information about Arkenland because I feel like the only real reference to Arkenland we get in the books besides its existence is in The Horse and His Boy.
Yeah, we get references every once in a while. Like, it's referenced as a geographical location, right?
Like I
There's multiple times where it's like all the way to the northern border, to the northern border of Arkenland, to the southern border of something, and you're like, cool. We know that there are humans there. We know when we come back in the next book that there's references to the humans in Arkenland, which we have to assume are the children of Corin and
I never remember her name either.
um,
Remembering names is hard, y'all.
Erebus.
Oh,
Erebus.
Erebus. Yes.
I have to share my favorite note, my favorite line of like the entire book because it amuses me immensely. Um, is on the last page of the books. Erebus had many quarrels, and I'm afraid even fights with Cor, but they always made it up again, so that years later when they were grown up, they were so used to quarreling and making up again that they got married so as to go on doing it more conveniently.
That's the insight into C.S. Lewis. Like C.S. Lewis thought that that's how marriage worked. Like we get a huge insight into how C.S. Lewis thought that marriage and relationships worked. Like that's one of the biggest things throughout all of his stories. Like one of the things is there's always one boy and one girl in these stories. Like and the interactions between the boy and the girl, it's like an old married couple. Like wait a second. You weren't even married when you wrote these. What is this? What you thought that marriage was like? Yeah, we get a deep insight into C.S. Lewis's mindset on how marriage works.
I love it, and that Bree and Quinn both got married, but not to each other, and they continue.
I always hated that in Lewis's stories. I'm like, the people that should get married never get married in Lewis. Why? That's one of the great things about the great authors. Their works leave you wanting more, but still feeling complete with what they wrote. Yes, agreed, Matt. That's how it's supposed to be. But also, like, Lewis, like
we have questions. We just want to have dinner and sit down and ask questions.
Why did Polly and Diggory not get married? Why did Bree and Win not get married? What the heck is going on, man?
It makes me think of La La Land a little bit, the movie, like just because we feel like things should work out a certain way doesn't mean that's for the best.
I know. That was always like when I was reading, I was like, yes, they're going to get together. It's like, no, they don't. I was like,
I always thought it was interesting. So like in The Horse and His Boy, we have a glimpse at Queen Susan actually looking at possibly being married to Prince Rapidash.
Mm-hmm.
And they obviously do not get married. But it makes you wonder, like, when, of course, was that the only ever offer of marriage they ever had? Did they decide that they weren't going to get married? Was there something deep within them that knew that they were going back to modern England at that point, at some point? Like that Aslan was just protecting them from having to make that choice or having to leave family behind in that choice because there was an ending. Like they never, you know, in the history of Narnia, they didn't die. They are immortal kings and queens, right? Like when they come back in different ways and in different groupings throughout the stories, they're still the kings and queens of Narnia because they never died.
Yep.
And so they technically, up through the last battle, they are still the kings and queens of Narnia, even though Susan never returns. Because they're still alive. And this thing that's really interesting that like Lewis set up the story in a way that we have it really in Narnia. There's an immortal king and queen. There are immortal kings and queens to the Narnians, and they never had to make the choice to leave family behind, even though they had. Susan has the option to marry here. Obviously, did other ones have the option to marry? Did they choose? We don't get to know any of those stories, which leaves you space for creative thinking. But it's those things you don't think about when you're, 7 years old reading the whole series. Wow, the sun just came out, and I am.
The Lord has blessed you in the house of the Lord.
The sun came out from behind a cloud for the first time in 3 days, and my camera went, I can't handle it.
I can't take it no more. Oh my God. But yeah, I do wish that we could get a little like, yeah, I do like, Kelorman, like us kind of going into that story there, but I want to know more about Arkenlin, and I want to know more about like what were they doing when Prince Caspian and all of his ancestors invaded Narnia? Like what? Like we get a little bit of reference, I think, in Prince Caspian or the Voyage of the Dawn Treader that Arkenlin's still there, and they just kind of isolated themselves from Narnia and everyone else.
Yeah,
I feel like, and it's just like what?
It's the opposite of Tolkien, where in Tolkien we have 13 histories of Middle Earth?
Yes.
Something like that, right? So
yes.
It's the opposite. We have this is why it's interesting, just fascinating to think of them being friends. To me it's the difference between like introvert and extrovert writing a book. In some ways, the introvert has created this entire world in their brain, and they live so in depth in that world, and they're so happy and content in that world that they've created their own language, and they have an entire history, and they have to write about the histories and the languages and all of these things, and it's this deep, rich thing, and it's like part of them. And then C.S. Lewis just sits down and writes this happy little story. We have no other histories. There's not little random notes sitting around his office of like, all of these things, or audio of him saying, to shut up and stop talking about why they didn't take a boat through Middle Earth to get there faster. We don't have any of that. C.S. Lewis wrote a bunch. It's the difference between writing a children's book and writing a series for adults.
Mm-hmm. Man, did you sound off about the book?
We're going to talk about that.
We're going to talk about that. We've got a few more minutes we've got a few more minutes with Smile, and after she skadooshes out of here, we're gonna dive into the Netflix Chronicles of Narnia, and I'm probably going to pop out a vein in my forehead and probably
my phone is being inundated with texts from my family. I think I've gotten no less than 80 texts since we started.
Nice. So yeah, any like final, because this is your favorite book. So like, what are your final like thoughts and what you want to get out into the interwebs about this story within the overarching Chronicles of Narnia story?
Read it. I think it was an interesting book to be handed to as like my first book. I was given this book because the word horse was in it, and they knew I liked horses, and that was the best way to get me to pick it up and read it, right? But I don't think I would recommend this as the first book to get into the series, because it is in some ways more disjointed from the rest of the series. It's kind of like, okay, if you've ever read the Little House on the Prairie books, you have all 7 of the books, right? And then there's the farmer boy right in between, which is Alonzo's story, which is connected, but it's
feels disconnected. It feels like it's a different story in a different universe in some ways. Now, Farmer's Boy, interestingly enough, is actually my favorite book in the Laura Ingalls Wilder series. So my two favorite books are the two books in like a 7-book series that both feel slightly disjointed from the rest of it. But I also, a lot of people skip over this book because it's not as ingrained into the rest of the series. And I think that that's just a shame. There is so much rich history we learn from this. We get a glimpse into King Edmund and the type of man he has become following his betrayal. You know, we have references, like there is actually a reference in here when they're talking about Rapidash and they're talking about mercy and justice. And Edmund makes a reference that, you know, we get because we just read Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe as to what does mercy look like in giving people a second chance. And that's a deeply, deeply, deeply learned story for Edmund, who went from being probably the more bitter of the four to being one of the strongest in mercy and in love and understanding forgiveness, because he has been forgiven for so much. And I really, really appreciate, even though it's just a few sentences, it's worth reading if for the story of what's going on outside of Narnia and to get to see a glimpse of King Peter and King Edmund and Queen Lucy and Queen Susan as adults, and getting to see them and how they've grown up in grace and in their strengths.
And how they were, in my opinion, how they should have been. Like them going back to England, like I don't think that's their true self. Like I really don't. I feel like in Narnia we get to see their true self.
Yeah, because there's a different strength. But I also, they have to go back, otherwise you lose the immortality of them being the high kings and queens. And there is so much hope that the rest of the series is built upon, with them being the essentially immortal high kings and queens of Narnia. And a certain strength that comes in a certain, you know, in that the time of need and the time of the most need is when when Aslan brings them back in different ways. And those are the great times of peril, and those are the moments that give the country hope to keep going on.
Yep.
Have fun talking about things that will make me very angry. I will come and listen later after I am not around family members who don't need to feel the wrath that would bring out in me.
Where can we find you? On Twitter and Instagram still?
Yes. So, yep, Instagram, Smile a While for me. And Twitter, same username, but slightly
the number 4.
My name was taken. Yep, changed out for the number 4. But you find me, Mando's taking me in places. So I'm around. Follow me on Instagram if you want to see pictures of my garden and the absolute insanity. We're coming into zucchini season, where I will probably start trying to pay people to take zucchini. So have a good afternoon. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Let's get started. So Matt sent me an article about Netflix Narnia. I was gonna we'll do the article that I was gonna read first, and then we'll also do that one because they're both about the same thing, and it's gonna be cray. Okay. This is directly from Netflix. So everything that we know about the Chronicles of Narnia so far from Netflix. Chronicles of Narnia. All right, so the Chronicles of Narnia on Netflix. Everything we know so far. 2022 will mark the 4th anniversary of when Netflix announced it had acquired the rights to adapt the new Chronicles of Narnia movies and series. Wow, they've only had it for a little while. Since then, we've had one major announcement and a lot of nothing. Here's everything we know about the Netflix Chronicles of Narnia adaptation. I don't want to look at we already know what the Chronicles of Narnia is because we're going through them on this channel. Hope they cast me in Netflix Narnia show. Heck yeah, you're gonna be King Peter, man. All right. How Netflix scored it. Let's see. Oh, C.S. Lewis Company. Netflix has a multi-year deal whereby it will have multiple film and series projects on the go, all based on the books of Narnia exclusively. Alongside the original announcement, Ted Sandros, who's now the co-CEO of Netflix, said, C.S. Lewis's beloved Chronicles of Narnia stories have resonated with generations of readers around the world, adding families have fallen in love with characters like Aslan and the entire world of Narnia. and we're thrilled to be their home for years to come. Oh, I'm sure you're thrilled. It was also reiterated multiple times that Netflix would be adapting Narnia into a universe, positioning the series to go up against the likes of Game of Thrones and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, albeit for a more family-oriented audience. Oh no! Oh no! The most important aspect of the Netflix deal, which makes it more unique than what has come before, is that it has access to all 7 books. That means some of the later books that I've never seen adaptations before could be coming to Netflix, which previous license owners haven't been able to do. Matthew Aldridge becomes architect on Narnia Universe for Netflix in 2019. Months after waiting for more information on Narnia on Netflix, finally we get some news in 2019. The news comes that the co-writer for Disney's Pixar's Coco, a multi-award-winning movie, will be working on Narnia. Oh no. Based on the books. I know, Jacob. I know. It's not gonna be. We all know it's not gonna be based on the books. We know it. We know it's not. In a tweet, Netflix see what's coming account said the following. See, reading this, I'm already tired. Coco co-writer Matthew Aldridge will serve as the creative architect and oversee the development of all films and shows adapted from C.S. Lewis's beloved Narnia universe for Netflix. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. In January 2020, Narnia Web posted that Douglas Gresham, stepson of C.S. Lewis, has little knowledge of where Netflix is at with the production. No! Oh no! Of course. Why? I know you're his stepson, but why would you let someone do this to his step? Oh, in 2020, Narnia Web. Picked up on a Q&A with the manager of Matthew Aldridge, who stated that Netflix projects will be done from the perspective of the kids, saying, characters come from understanding people. Sometimes it's about having children. Matt Aldridge can write kids right now because he has kids and he talks to them and he's trying to figure them out. He runs his scripts by them and he pitches them stories. When they get bored, he cuts it. When they get excited, he adds it. His 2 kids are a testing room. I mean, family oriented. So drag queens, bro. I'm gonna get upset. The series. Oh, they're preparing the series. I think if that's Spanish, yeah. The only update we've had regarding Netflix or the Narnia Netflix series, France acknowledged its existence, was via source for Narnia Web, blah, blah. Still in development in 2021. One additional thing mentioned in 2022 is that Ted, a network exec at Netflix, who is director of original stories, lists Narnia in his LinkedIn bio, saying, oh no. Spearheaded the formation of the 4 quad family programming state, including development and production of Netflix original series Fuller House, Haters Back Off, Lemony's Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, Lost in Space, The Umbrella Academy, The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, Dolly Parton's Heartstrings Raising, Dion and Green Eggs and Ham, Sweet Tooth, and the upcoming Chronicles of Narnia. More like based on the cooks, right? So development is still ongoing. No, we don't want to start Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe. It doesn't start. I mean, technically, yes, in publication order it starts there, but not in the chronological order. Start with Magician's Nephew. It better start with Magician's Nephew. Frickin' hack. This would mean that they're adapting the books in the chronological order, which is what they should do. They should. Okay, so basically a lot of nothing is what we're talking about. So we don't have any information. I think this is just me speculating. I think they're waiting for the wokeness to go away because otherwise they're going to have a really hard time with this story because it's very blatantly Christian themes and family values and things that are not popular right now. So I think that Netflix is trying to hold off on it because of it's so blatantly religious themes. Uh, it's not gonna be great. I it's not gonna be great. Let's start with let's do Matt's article on the subject. After the Witcher fiasco, why should we trust Netflix with Narnia? Right? Right. Like Netflix has my assumption, Netflix has the rights to the books for The Witcher, and The Witcher sucks. Had one good thing come out of it, or two good things. Henry Cavill as Geralt, and the song "Toss a Coin to Your Witcher." It is not often that we get any news of Narnia, but the latest isn't all bad. Director Greta Gerwig, whose films include Lady Bird, Little Women, and the upcoming Barbie flick, is set to direct at least 2 of Netflix's Chronicles of Narnia. That's not great. We are the woke. Lower your shields and surrender your IP. We will deconstruct your culture and subvert your unique cultural distinctiveness with NPCs. Yep. Gerwig is a talented director, and I think she'll do a fine job with whichever of the films she helms, whether that's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe or The Silver Chair. I am more concerned with Netflix being in charge of these films. I have 2 reasons for this. First, if it's not going to be another animated adaptation, more's the pity, then I'd like to see this on the big screen at a theater, not just on streaming. Cinema is being robbed of all kinds of potential by these direct to streaming releases, and moviegoers are being given short shrift. Second, Netflix has a bad track record. Not only have they canceled promising projects like The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance, they have made it clear that faithful adaptations are low on their priority list. What faithful adaptations do come out, Lockwood and Company, or I Am Not Okay with This, seems to be canceled almost instantly. Meanwhile, big fantasy properties like The Witcher are butchered beyond recognition. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Narnia presents unique problems for Netflix. C.S. Lewis was a man of faith and one of the great Christian apologists of modern times. Narnia is a Christian fable at its core, and one that cannot be properly adapted without leaving its religious themes intact. But Christianity is far from in vogue these days in the entertainment industry, especially with big streamers like Netflix. Not that Netflix is above preaching, it's usually just a different message being preached. How will Netflix reconcile the potentially opposing influences of modern social justice, politics, and Lewis's Christian allegory? I have grave doubts that the company will even try. I'm usually such an optimist. You may not believe me, but it's true. And that was a short one. That was a short article. Yeah. They can't I agree that these should be movies. Um, I like kind. Okay, thank you, Echo. I'm so glad that you're still here and looking. Um, I, they have to leave the Christian themes intact because that is what the story is. It is a Christian story, but its application is like you don't have to be a Christian to enjoy this book. You don't have to be a Christian to enjoy the story that takes place in the Chronicles of Narnia. Like what we were just talking about. If they want representation, we'd have an entire story with the horse and his boy that takes place in a Middle Eastern setting. Very little bit about it takes place in Narnia, like in actuality. So if they wanted representation, they can easily do that story. Like but they don't have to take out the religious themes. They can leave them in there and it's still a great story. And yes, they're going to get flack for having a religious story in there. Sure, whatever. But like it's the contrast between the headline and what they wrote that stood out to me. And then there is that Christian apologist character assassination they drop on Lewis in there. Well, no. Like C.S. Lewis was a Christian apologist. He was one of the greatest. An apologist does not mean that one who apologizes for the faith. It is one that defends the faith. It is one that argues for the faith. Uh, apologist comes from the Greek apologia, that means a defender. It means like a lawyer. You don't have to be a lizard to enjoy Harry Potter. either. Right? They'll make Aslan a lioness. They'll probably make him some sort of trans or something. But he's a Christian apologist. Yes, he is one of the most famous 20th century Christian apologists of all time. He was a defender of the faith. That's what apologist means. And I still read a ton of his Christian works, like his apologist works. Um, yes, they use it in a derogatory negative term, but it is true. He is a Christian apologist. Um, and he makes good arguments. So, but putting that aside, this is still a great story. Like, I'm not a witch or a wizard, and I love Harry Potter. Like, I love the story, like the world of Harry Potter. It's fiction. It is make believe. It doesn't like I can separate the whatever themes are in the book from other themes. Like, if I don't agree, like according to like a lot of Christian doctrine, like magic is bad, but I still enjoy a good story while it does have magic. And there are other Christians out there who say that you shouldn't read stories about magic because it blah 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 this and that and the other. Well, suck my big toe. Like you can enjoy something without agreeing with the politics or the theology or whatever. Like, you can enjoy things without agreeing with everything. Like, if it's a good story, it's a good story. It doesn't matter what side of the political aisle or what background theology. Like, I love anime and manga. Like, I'm a huge fan of anime and manga. I'm not Japanese, nor do I practice any form of the Japanese religions that they have. I'm not a Buddhist. Granted, it's Chinese. There's what is Japanese? It's not Buddhism. My brain has just like, but I don't practice Eastern religions. But I can still enjoy story that takes place in Asia. I feel like most people nowadays, like, unless they are unless there is like a carbon copy of them on the screen that they're watching, they can't relate to it, which is just sad. It's sad that you don't have an imaginative mind to be able to differentiate make believe. What's up, Ryan? How you doing? How you doing? Yeah, exactly. Good story is for anybody. If it's not, it's not good. Yeah, if the story isn't for everybody, it's not a great story. You're sleepy, Ryan? I'm sorry. It's probably like what? Like super early or late for you? Probably tomorrow. Well, I think it's early because you're like 13 hours. I don't want to try and guesstimate the math. My experience in speaking from my solely experience is the Christian denominations that have the sort of problem you discuss having particular interpretations of what opens one up to the dark influence. Yeah. 3 a.m. Lord have mercy. Good morning, Ryan. Yes, I know stuff. Very, very good late art. But yeah, I don't think Netflix is gonna do good adapting the Chronicles of Narnia. I really don't. Uh if they were to do it in this day and age. Because they're not gonna do it right. They're gonna do what they did with Witcher, and they're gonna butcher it, and they're gonna not be faithful to the source material. They're not gonna be faithful to the adaptations. Like, it's not gonna be good. Also, don't forget to hit that like button. I never remind the people to hit the like button, and I'm like, why does no one like me? Uh, Netflix are only good at adapting Trey. Agreed. Netflix Mando. Peak entertainment. What are you doing, cat? My cat is staring at my light. that's down there. He's just like. So I'm kind of don't stare directly at it. You're gonna hurt yourself. Like a child. Yeah. Don't stare at the sun. Yeah, I mean, like, even the big studios that had the Chronicles of Narnia, like while the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was a pretty decent movie, wasn't great. It didn't like a lot. It still has a lot of profit. There's a Netflix Mando right there. You called? You were summoned because we were saying that Netflix is better at adapting Trey than it is at adapting anything else. But yeah, like let's go Netflix Mando! Yeah. I love that so much. Yeah, so Horse and His Boy, fabulous. I think that the one that they would most likely adapt is going to be the Horse and His Boy because it does take place in a Middle Eastern style country. And yes, I grew up Catholic when I was a kid, and one of my crazy aunts found out D&D, and she asked the priest to check and see if I needed an exorcism. The priest became an avid RPG player. Yes, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I play D&D. We haven't played in a while because one of my friends got married, and I'm just like, I'm so happy you got married, but I miss playing D&D, man. My wizard is just sitting there reading her book. Anyway, yeah, read the books. If Netflix, I'm gonna make this vow because, like, as much as I love Tolkien, C.S. Lewis was my first love. You know, between the two. If they do this and it's bad, I will dedicate my channel to educating everyone about C.S. Lewis. And I will also do my best to bash Netflix. Like, leave Lewis alone. He already had a hard life. Leave his story alone. This is the book that I have, by the way, that has all 7 of the books. I could probably, if I really, really tried, sit down and read this in like a few weeks, like 2 weeks. I could probably do it before then, but yeah, like most of the books, if you read them, aren't very long, like 3 or 4 hours max to read one of the books. So, meh. Mando will single-handedly cancel the whole Netflix company. I mean, I will dedicate my channel like to doing everything I can to bring down that company. If they're like, leave Lewis alone, leave him alone. My Lanta, if you butcher this, if it's good, I'll tell you. I'll be like, I'll sing their praises from the heavens. I'll be like, Netflix has done it, yes. And if they mess this up, I'll be like, it's time to burn. We're gonna go scorched earth. I don't know if it'll be this channel in particular, but I will make a channel that is just dedicated to canceling Netflix. You wouldn't be. You would. We'd keep you around. I'd exclude you from the scorched earth. I'll join you for Geralt. That's right, for Geralt. I used to have a nice hardcover Narnia omnibus when I was young. I wore it out, and my aunt replaced it with a cheapo paperbacks that did not last long. I got to reread Narnia. Reread Narnia. I mean, that's what we're doing once a month. We're doing a small panel going through the books, the Chronicles of Narnia, and that's what Horse and His Boy was today. And then next month we're going to be doing Prince Caspian and the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because they're kind of connected stories a little bit. All right. So last article, which is not talking about Chronicles of Narnia, but it is also it's talking about Tolkien and Chronicles of Narnia. Ryan Reaper, you guys talked about this earlier. I think you were talking about this. I was getting ready for the show, so I had you guys in the background, but I was like, so we are going to talk about we need more hood representation in Middle Earth and in Harry Potter. Bro, if they make Hermione black, I'm going to stab a fool. Captain America in Minecraft. Captain America Brave New World star Anthony Mackie calls out lack of black characters in Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings films. I want to see Frodo in the hood, yo. Bro, Frodo in the hood, man. If Netflix messes this up, I will become a white cloak and burn them as a dark. Yes, do it. Whether it's Harry Potter enduring endless but ultimately toothless calls for boycotts due to J.K. Rowling's actual feminist views or the continuous attempts to politicize Tolkien's classic Lord of the Rings works, recent years have seen numerous fantasy franchises uncharitably thrown under the bus due to their failure to satisfy Hollywood's so-called modern standards. They can just shove that all up in where the sun don't shine. In the latest case of someone attempting to overwrite the original version of a beloved author, rather than rabid activists or ESG-driven executives, Captain America Brave New World star Anthony Mackie has slammed both of the aforementioned franchises over their lack of black characters. Dumbledore gay. Everyone else black. Yup. The Marvel Cinematic Universe's current wielder of the shield weighed in on the topic during a recent interview with Inverse, speaking with the outlet's Jake Killiman about his upcoming directorial debut Spark, a BIPOC based on the life of Claudette Colvin, a black woman whose refusal to abide by segregation-era bus laws predated Rosa Parks by several months, but was ultimately hushed away due to her being pregnant and unmarried. Mackie reveals that the film was meant to not only honor the unsung civil rights icon, but also address what he believes to be a lack of acting opportunities for young black actors. Ugh. Harry Potter had no effing black friends. I wonder why. If you go into Europe during that time period, are you going to see a lot of them? Probably not. But hey, I'm not from Europe. Well, I mean, technically my ancestry is, but the actor asserted Frodo walked across the entire universe and never met a black dude. Because it was Middle Earth. Middle Earth is a European history, fantasy story. Go make your own. Go make your own. You don't like it? Go make your own. Can we start to GoFundMe to have Elon Musk make a special spaceship to launch Wokus like Anthony Mackie on a one-way trip out of the solar system? See you later. Bro. I want to see Frodo in the hood, he added, which if I ever do a Saturday Night Live is going to be a skit I'm going to do. Frodo was Middle Earth. There wasn't a hood. The hood didn't exist then. There was no such thing as a hood. Oh my god. The hood is a modern thing. The hood did not exist. God. I am, and we haven't had a lot of black people here since 20 years ago. Frodo walked across every small portion of it. Taking it from the European here. Not saying black people didn't exist. I'm not saying that. None of us are saying black people did not exist. They just did not live in these places during this time in mass. They weren't there. Like, Tolkien created Middle Earth as a lore, a fantasy, fairy tale for Britain. And last I checked, black people did not originate from Britain. That's nothing against them. It's not. It really isn't. I know my voice is getting higher and higher, and I'm probably like clipping out. But it's just why is like I can't help where I come from. I can't help that there weren't a lot of black people. Well, actually, where I was born and where I was raised, there actually really were. But we're not gonna do that. Like, I was born, like, I have Irish in my blood. There's not a lot of black Irish people. There's just not. Black Aragorn on that card actually looks more like Yep. Of course, fans of both franchises know that Mackie's criticisms are at best disingenuous. Set in 1990s Britain, Rowling's wizarding world of Harry Potter is far from lacking in diversity. From Harry Potter's non-white classmates Dean Thomas, Paravetti, and Padme Patel and Cho Chang, all of whom are play a significant role in rebelling. I'm getting upset. I can't read when I'm upset. a role in rebelling against Professor Umbridge's regime as members of Dumbledore's army in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. To the evil Minister of Magic, Kingsley Shacklebolt, this series has no shortage of ethnically diverse characters. Frodo didn't swim across a vast ocean like Galadriel. Yep. Conversely, unlike the more modern-day Harry Potter, the Lord of the Rings fantasy world of Middle-earth, specifically the Shire where Frodo and the hobbits lived, is based off of Tolkien's own surrounding in 1930s England, a country which at that time was not known for being overtly diverse. Further, Tolkien wrote his fantasy epic with the specific goal of creating a modern mythology for his countrymen, and thus more of his characters share physical attributes with the country's most prominent demographic. At the time of this writing, due to combination, I don't care. I don't care about that. I don't care. If they, I don't. Why we gotta hate on like JK doesn't need more hate on her. She's got enough, okay? Like she's already dug her own hole and she's trying to swim herself out of the hole that she's dug herself and she just can't get out of it, which is fine. Like give her the proper amount of criticism that she has earned. That's always been my thing with her. Like, should she be criticized for some of the things she said? Absolutely. Should she get hate mail? No. I don't think people should get hate mail and get death threats and get stuff like that. No, that's too far. But I do believe she should be criticized for saying after like retconning certain things about the books. Like if my opinion on her canon is what is published is canon. Even if I hate the what's the last one? The Cursed Child. I hate that book. I've not read most of it. I've read parts of it. It's canon. It is. Even if it changes things, like it's published. That's my thoughts on that. Frodo in the Hood, bro. I think Anthony needs to read a history book, to be honest. I think a lot of these people who are woke need to read some history books. Not the curated history books. I mean like read some actual doggone history that's not like as least politically as you can get. Yeah, it's stupid, I think. Like, history is not pretty. History is not perfect. History is not gonna line up with modernity's ethics, morals, and values. It's not, because it's not modernity. It's not modern audiences, and things don't need to be updated to modern audiences just because we have different morals, ethics, and values that they did previously. We need to read these stories to understand how we came about to get these morals, ethics, and values, because they didn't start from nothing. Like there were things that happened that caused us to realize what we did in the past was wrong. If you don't know your history, you're going to repeat it. JK is from London, the most diverse city maybe in the whole of Europe. Of course she wrote diverse characters. Yeah. Of course. Like you write what you know. Like writers write what they know. A lot of writers take inspiration from their surroundings, from their history, from their stories. Like it's not Tolkien's fault if he never really came in contact with many like people from other ethnicities and descent, which he did because he fought in World War One, and he helped out in World War II as much as he could because he couldn't really do much. He was a code cracker. But like I could probably like make a story about somebody being in the hood because I lived in the hood for a while. And like, I'm going to tell you, I was one of the only white people there. And that was fine because I knew that I was one of the only white people. And I knew that there were things I shouldn't do. Like, I wish that we could just get stories that are good. I don't care what the color of somebody's skin is. I don't care where you're from. Is it a good story? That's all I want is good stories, good entertainment. Help me not have to worry about what's going on in the world. Help me not have to worry about the bills I have to pay or the people like the job I have to work at. Like, help me not think about those things. Help me escape. Plus, Christopher served in World War II. It's funny how Tolkien would mail him stuff to edit, right? Like, how about instead of criticizing things that you don't understand, how about you do some research? And then if you still feel the need to criticize, do it with an educated, like, do it education, like, brain. Do it from an educational standpoint where you are properly educated. Do it from an informed standpoint. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. Be informed. If you're going to criticize something, be informed about it as much as you can. Like, do research. Don't just say, oh, I don't like that when you don't understand what you don't like. It's like a kid saying, I don't want to eat carrots when they've never had a carrot in their life. Like, you don't know if you don't like it. Look, do research into it. Look into it. It's there. Like, you can find most information out with the internet. And like, there's a reason that Frodo isn't in the hood. He's not from the hood. He's from Middle Earth. Middle Earth is like the Middle Ages. Yes, there were probably some people of darker skin and descent that were in Britain, but most of the time, no, there wasn't. And it's not like it's not a bad thing. Like, people live where they live. It's not a, like, you're bad if you were from there that didn't have a lot of diversity. Well, there are people in Asia. Like, if I were to go to Japan, I have a tattoo. I wouldn't be allowed into any bathhouses because I have a tattoo and I'm a foreigner. They're very, very protective. And we're fine with them being racist towards other ethnicities because they're Japanese, they're Asian. Like, they're fine being racist to other ethnicities and other groups, but like, everybody else gets a pass. I love carrots and carrot. Ooh, yes, carrot cake is very nice. Now I want. But yeah, I think it's everyone has their preferences. Everyone has the ways that they like certain things. I love anime. I'm not Japanese. I am white. I am one of the whitest white chicks you could ever meet. I have lots of Irish or Scottish Irish ancestry, and you can tell. Yeah, there's not a lot of people of other ethnicities in Ireland and Scotland. There's just not. Just there's also not a whole lot of people in mid Africa. Like, just not in South Africa. Yeah, there's a lot of white people, but that's because like South Africa was taken over by the British for a while. Tolkien set Lord of the Rings, depending on interpretation, in Northwest Europe either 6,000 or 2,000 years ago. Most Northwest Europeans did not see a non-white person until somewhere around 1580. I know the problem with what you're arguing against is people just wanting to feel accepted. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I understand that. Like, people want to be accepted. People want to feel included. I get that. I understand. But I'm not going to tell someone that something like that their universe is wrong because I don't see my skin color in that universe. Like, I'm not going to say you're wrong because I'm not included in that. Like, yeah, I want to be included. But like, I understand that. Granted, it took me a long time to mature to this point and stage in my life. Ugh. Well, I think I've rambled enough. So tomorrow, don't forget, Unplugged with Wicked and Mando. And next week we will be going back into the Halo universe. I will be doing Contact Harvest. That will be the next book in the Halo series. I agree. I feel like someone create what they want and I want to, and I judge based off if it's good or not if I'm represented. Yeah. That's the whole point of the argument is like, is it good? I could find ways to see aspects of myself into somebody. Like, I see aspects of myself in Aragorn. I'm not a dude. but I like there are certain characteristics I identify with. I don't have to look like them. I can still identify with somebody that I don't look like. That's the point. Yeah. So our next Chronicles of Narnia is going to be next month, and we are going to be talking about Prince Caspian and the Voyage of the Dawn Treader. That will be August 5th. So please do not miss that Literary Souls. I will hopefully have all of my panel guests this time next month. So hopefully we will get a lot more opinions, thoughts. And most people know about the story of Prince Caspian and the Voyage of the Dawn Treader. But please, if you are wanting to read along, please read along with us. It's super fun. If you've never read Chronicles of Narnia, or if it's been a while since you've read Chronicles of Narnia, you should read them. They're great. It's a great story. It's not. I like samurais. I am neither samurai nor Asian. Yeah, proof right there. Let's see. So yeah, so Saturday, so today, tomorrow, Unplugged, and then of course keep an eye on Discord and Twitch because I will be hopefully starting up my normal schedule again. We will be temporarily switching Sea of Thieves from Thursdays to Fridays because I am going to be joining Roman on his show for the Secret Invasion show. I like Tales of Sinbad, and I'm only 2% Middle Eastern. Yeah. I like Geralt. Enough said. You're not a mutant warrior that has a giant sword. Granted, I have Geralt's swords back there, but yeah. So yeah, keep an eye on social media. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, I'm on Rumble, YouTube. I'm trying to get this YouTube channel up. We're at 207. I'm hoping to try and get monetized before the end of the year. That's kind of my goal. So please share this out with your friends, family, whoever might be interested in the content. Trying to do more things with the channel. Took a little bit of a week off to just kind of relax and chill and enjoy 4th of July with friends and family. So yeah, please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, share it out, and I like cartoon. Yep. Yeah, you're not what's my Discord link? Let me get my Discord link for you. Because yeah, I am most active on Discord. Granted, I'm not super active just in general, but let's see, no limit, never generate new link, copy, paste. That is my Discord. If you want to join me, we have fun in the Discord. It's usually pretty chill and all of that, but that's the best way to interact with me is Discord. So y'all have a great evening, a great afternoon. Wicked will be live later on with Wicked Worlds. Oh no, she's not doing a Wicked Worlds today. But so tomorrow, join us for Unplugged, and yeah, it's gonna be great. Bye.